Well, I am so excited about today's webinar because we have a very special guest with us, and we are talking about investing in pre-construction condominiums. So I'm Lauren Rebecca from the Mills team, and I am joined with several of my teammates, Mike Adams, Christine Sweeney, Sarah O'Neill, and our extra special guest is Jeff Slightham, who is the Vice President of our wonderful brokerage, Royal LePage Signature.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
It's great being here. Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah.
It is exciting. Yeah. Very exciting.
For us too. And in addition to that amazing role, you also are a specialist in pre-construction condominium
Yes.
sales and
Relationships. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what it is that you do to build those relationships.
Yeah, no problem. So on the pre-construction side, it's more important than ever to have close ties with all the developers and their sales and marketing teams to ensure that our team members that are part of our Royal LePage Signature family and their clients get front of the line access to all these great sites that pop up all over the Greater Toronto area. So it's been a busy 10 or 20 years. It's been a long run with new construction, but it's been providing in large part our rental pool and our rental product for our city.
Well, that's amazing. And I think part of the reason I'm so excited about today is not only are all of us at this table condo owners, I call us the condo crew here, but our team really believes in investing in real estate, right? Absolutely. And I know you do too, Jeff.
Of course, big fan.
Yeah, so, but they're eventually, I think, a resale investment gets to be very much like a pre-construction eventually, but at the beginning, there's some real differences. And so we thought today we would just kind of talk about what that is and kind of how the process all starts.
It's definitely different.
It's different. So I guess the first topic and sort of question we have is what makes a pre-construction condo a good investment?
That's a great question. So the goal of investing in new construction is that it takes 4 to 5 years, depending on the size of the building, maybe 6 or 7 years to complete it. So it's essentially what we look at as is a forced savings plan. Right. So the deposit structure is spread out over the construction term, call it, over the time that the building is being finished. And so you don't need to come up with that one lump sum as a down payment. You're able to spread it out. So again, I'll circle back to, it's a forced savings plan. You need to have those deposits within a spread out, again, within a certain time period over the construction cycle. So you're not having to come up with that, bring out the big bag of
that 20%.
That 20% down. You only need 5% in the first year in a lot of cases.
Right, and then at some point you need more.
Exactly. Exactly. So developers now, they look for 5 to 10% within the first 365 days.
Okay, so that does give people a good amount of time to sort of save up. And,
you got it.
And in the meantime, they aren't a landlord, right? So they're not managing a tenant.
No.
They're just kind of sitting back.
They get to do the fun things, you sit back, you get to pick your colors, your finishes, the cabinetry, your kitchen, whether you want an island or not, and then there's, upgrades and backsplash upgrades, tile upgrades, all that kind of good stuff. So, and I know we're all here to help with that process as well.
Yeah, no, that is the fun part for sure.
Yeah, this is a good segue. So we always talk real estate, obviously your, biggest factor is always location when you're buying real estate. So when we're talking pre-construction, we all know that's still really important, but what are some of the other key factors our investors should think about?
Fabulous. So I think one of the first ones, not only with location, and I think even prior to location, you want to understand who's going to build it for you.
Right.
So who is the developer and what's their track record like? And it's very easy for us to research that. And if it's a new developer, we're obviously doing lots of back checks. But if it's a more experienced developer that's been around a little while, a little longer in the tooth, so to speak, you can go back and check, have they walked away from any projects?
Right.
What projects have they finished recently? What you can look up Google reviews and all that kind of great stuff on certain developers. But like in any business, some developers have better reputation than others. So we look closely at the developers and we do our very best to align ourselves with the best in the business. And then you move down the list I call it, but into the location, what is it close to transportation? Is it close to education facilities?
Right.
A lot of our clients are very concerned. They want to make sure, they want to know that they're going to at least have a tenant there. And so being close to university, colleges, things like that come into play when making those kind of buying decisions.
Right, and I mean, kudos to you, and for our clients who are watching this, hopefully there are some. You spend a lot of time like really developing those relationships. So I always describe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that as a result, we kind of get front of the line access for
100%.
our clients, and which is really a fantastic benefit they gain as a result of all your hard work.
That's it. Yeah, that's our goal. I mean, it's funny, these relationships, like they host all these events that they expect you to attend to and all that kind of fun stuff. And they are fun events, and they're all these outside of the box things that they do to really, these splashy events that, that are recorded like this and to really, make it attractive for people to invest and buy their product.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's great.
And is there a key timing? So we always talk to our clients about like as soon as it launches. So again, you're so amazing at going to these launches and then letting us know so that we then get it out to our database. Is there a key time that the buyer investors should be jumping in?
I would say a week before the launch.
Okay.
Even though a lot of times before the launches, they haven't released pricing. Yeah. They may have released some sample floor plans, but not all of them. Maybe like in any project, or maybe 20 or 30, 40, 50, 60 different floor plans, if you can imagine. But they may only release half a dozen of them. So it's important to understand, but at least gives you an idea of the pricing. They may give some sample pricing, or we'll have at least an understanding of what the approximate price point would be for a unit. So at least you can get ahead of it. And so once it launches and we have all the information, all the floor plans, all the pricing, we can make a decision very, very quickly.
So that's like a week before. So, because it always seems like from the time you have to make a decision on you want to buy that suite, it seems to go really, really
very
quickly.
Very quickly.
But I guess the good news is that you have that due diligence period. So
yes.
Ontario is mandated.
That's right. For a 10 days. So once you've signed the contract, and that's a great point, because it's a very exciting time and a high pressure time, because the developer, once you've dropped off your deposit check, the contract's in your inbox because it's all DocuSign now.
Yep.
And so like, well, I want to take it to my lawyer to have them review it. Well, the developer wants you to sign it first and then take it to your lawyer.
But you get the 10 days.
You have the 10 days to completely walk away. It's not 10 business days, it is 10 consecutive days. And then, so you want to get it into your lawyer's hands quickly, because if there is any terms of the contract you wish to negotiate, or at least to attempt to negotiate, you have that time to do so.
Nice.
And I guess just trying to understand the process from there. So the developers launched, everyone's very excited, they've started to buy units, and then at what point does construction actually start? Is there a threshold? Like, where's
That's a loaded question. That is a great question. In most cases, developers want to get construction started as soon as possible.
Right.
So they're looking to hit that 70 to 80% sold mark.
Right.
So they want to sell 70 to 80% of the building. And in most common cases, it's approximately 80%. And then that's when they're able to get their construction financing.
Great.
They want to sell technically speaking, they want to sell 80% of the total livable square footage of the project before they can get their construction financing and they can put a shovel in the ground and start digging a hole.
Great.
So can I just ask one other question? So typically, our buyers, investors get three choices, or potentially they have to ask for three different choices, three different suites, let's call it.
Yes.
So how does that, it's called an allocation process. Can you just describe for our clients how that actually works? And we know that you're part of this magic, how this works.
Yes. Great question. So the key thing is to have, as an investor or purchaser, is to have an open mind, to be open, like you said, to about 2 or 3 different options.
Right.
If you're set, I only want this option, this exposure on this floor and this floor plan, so to speak, it lowers your chances because of the sheer demand for these units. It's and the competitive nature of the new construction business.
Right.
You have to be open-minded to say, okay, if I don't get this unit, I will take option B or
B or
C.
C. Okay.
Or
that's
D.
Great.
Yeah, or either effort.
Or either after, yeah. Just be excited. I mean, the idea is to get it, if it's investor driven and it is an investment, just be excited about getting access to the project. But in most cases, I would say we're very lucky, and because of our relationships, we're able to get one of your top 3 choices.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know it was touched on just a little bit, but we get a lot of questions from our clients in regards to just the costs sort of revolving around pre-construction. Would
Sure.
you be able to just break that down as simply as possible?
For sure. So part of the promotions behind projects and developers, there are something called development charges. It's a charge that's most likely from the municipalities. So municipalities charge developers these development charges that support infrastructure within the community. Parks, schools, water, hydro, all that kind of great stuff. So the developer doesn't pass the entire cost onto the purchasers, but they do pass a portion of it. So the developer takes part in those costs, and then a portion again is passed on to the purchasers. Right. So, and those costs are flexible. So as we know, these charges, because it's built over a 4 or 5 year period, the municipality may make some changes to those charges. So it's important that one of the promotions is developing what they call a hard cap on these fees. Mm-hmm. So it's something you want to look for and it's something a lot of times you want to go through the fine print in the agreements once you've signed to ensure that it is a hard cap on those costs. Right. And those costs range based on your unit type. So on average, you'll see for a 1-bedroom unit, those development charges are between $12,000 and $15,000, and then for a 2-bedroom or slightly larger is $15,000 to $17,000, and then a 3-bedroom is about $17,000 to $19,000.
Interesting.
In fees. Yep.
Great.
And then you have your land transfer tax on top of
Yes,
that.
that still exists even with pre-construction.
That still exists, definitely.
Right.
And then there's, I guess, the HST component.
Yeah, that's where it gets a little. It's interesting. I guess that's a word for it. Interesting. So it's HST. When you see the sticker price of the unit you're purchasing, the HST is included in that price. You are able to claim a portion of the HST back should you be an end user and moving into it, or you have to provide a 1-year lease agreement to the CRA and the department that manages the HST component. And there is an interesting formula to it because they take a lot of things into consideration. So if there has been a lot of appreciation of the asset, you actually get less of a rebate. So it is a bit of a formula. It is sneaky. Those CRA folks, they are sharp.
They figured this all out,
They have
haven't
figured
they?
it all out. So if the property has appreciated a lot, your rebate is a lesser amount.
Okay.
So you talked a
I
little
found
bit.
that out because of my personal
Good, so you
experience.
had to know.
Personal experience,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Excellent.
Yeah. Oh, that's how this works. Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about the importance of the development charges in the pre-construction contract, but what
Yes.
else is important to look for in there?
Great question. I know a lot of people, and this has been in the news lately, in the past little while, was a lot of developers now are putting a clause in there that they can actually increase the price by a certain percent, up to a certain percentage point. It's usually about a 3% discrepancy of what I've seen on average. Wow. So it's just something you want to be mindful of. And the only reason they have that in is as labor, as materials get more and more expensive, developers, quite frankly, need that to have the ability to increase the price in order for them to finish the project. Because at the end of the day, there needs to be enough margin in it for them to have it make sense. And if all the labor costs and material costs have gone up exponentially and there's nothing left, they don't want to lose money on a project.
Right.
Nobody does.
No. Yeah.
But another benefit I would say of just buying pre-construction is you have that 10-day due diligence period, and that's when your lawyer would go through some of
And
those
that's where those
fine
kind of clauses are
contract
caught.
details.
That's correct.
Yeah, and are there are some other things that are important right in those contracts?
Right to assign.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Great question. Great point. So you want to make sure you can assign it because, as we all know, with the length of of the development cycle, of the building cycle, if it's going to take 4 years, a lot a lot of things can change in those in that time period. So that's a great point. You want the ability to assign it at little or no cost.
And
so
an assignment, that means that you're basically selling your contract?
that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So an assignment would mean that you have the contract, you don't actually physically own the unit, there's no deed in place. You just have the contract
Yeah.
that says you have the right to register a deed on that property once it's finished. And so you can sell that contract to somebody else.
Okay.
And also, I guess, the right to have a lease during the occupancy period.
Yes.
Or maybe if you just want to explain a little bit what the occupancy period is.
Yeah,
I know we have a lot of new terms out
of course,
there.
just throwing terms around. So before you take like physical possession, before you can register a deed and register a mortgage against the property, the developer will hand you the keys on a date where the unit is essentially livable.
Yeah.
And the building is a certain percentage complete so they can move people in. So you will be given the keys, you can live there. The developer does ask that you pay a portion of the maintenance fees for the building and a portion of the interest on their debt. So it works out, the math and their formula works out almost a little bit less, but about equivalent to a mortgage payment.
Okay.
What your mortgage payment would be if you'd put 20 to 25% down. So once that's in place, you pay that, and it's almost like paying rent, what a lot of people call it. Paying rent to the developer. The only catch there is that you're not paying your mortgage yet. Right, so that's the only catch. Ideally, what you want if you are putting a tenant in there and the right to lease, it's nice to know that the tenant, although it's paying you rent, it's paying down that mortgage. So unfortunately, that is the occupancy period, and then there's the unit transfer date, they call it, the closing date with the builder, where you can register the mortgage and the deed against the property.
Right.
Did I explain that all right?
You
Yes.
totally did.
Okay.
And so I guess from an investor's standpoint, as Christine mentioned, the right to rent out your suite during that period is really
It is
critical.
important. So it is helpful, of course, to cover those extra costs, 100%.
Right.
And it's become the norm now. We see that more and more in the industry.
Yeah. So I guess my last question, unless you guys have anything else, would be, do you have any commentary around how developers are pricing these condos currently? And I don't mean today, but just generally, because it seems like history has shown us in the last little while, pre-construction condo can be a really good way to actually make some money.
Yes.
In terms of, while you're waiting for it to be built, it's appreciating.
That's the goal. I mean, and this is why it's so important to talk to yourselves if you're looking to purchase a new construction, because there's just so much. Everyone sees all the cranes up around the city. I think it's the one city on the planet that has the most cranes.
Totally.
Right? And we're very lucky in that way. And so the demand for real estate will continue, and there's so many great opportunities. It's why you need to speak to a great group of people like this, where you're going to direct your client to the right investment. And especially when it comes down to pricing, it's important to know, especially on the new construction side, you do the research and say, okay, well, what's resale in the area?
Right.
Right? So how does the new construction price point compare to something else you can buy resale?
Right.
And as long as you look at large discrepancies, right? So if the pre-construction project is drastically more expensive than, say, a very similar building that's already completed, well, maybe that's not making a lot of sense. And those are the kind of things that we point out to all our clients.
I remember you and I were talking about this actually, about a Midtown project and the price per square foot that they were, the developer was initially launching at was already what a comparable high-end building in the neighborhood was selling for in the current market. And so we were looking at that and saying,
you're like, this seems, it's like, is this too good to be true? Right? Because you don't see that. In a lot of cases with new construction, you are buying future value. You're buying futures, right? So it's, even though you are buying, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's just important to understand what else is going on around in that community and why it is good value.
Yeah.
That's great.
Awesome. Well, this has been amazing.
This has been great. Thank you. You guys are amazing.
We appreciate all of your insights, and I feel like we call you all the time and ask you questions about developers and projects, and it's so great for us and to be able to share with our clients all of these new developments that are coming out all the time.
It is. It's funny, right? Anything new is exciting, right? So if wherever you live in this city, it seems like there's a vacant land or a parking lot somewhere or something's going to go up one day, and new is exciting, I think. And everyone's like, change. Nobody loves change, but with all this great density and all these great projects going around a great city, it only makes this place better.
And we need, this is our inventory, right?
It is.
We have inventory shortages everywhere.
Everywhere.
So new construction is where we get our
it makes it a healthy market.
It does,
right?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
when our market gets too tight and there's fewer things for sale, right, it only gets more expensive. And it gets too expensive, quite frankly. So we need this density. We need condominiums.
We need them. Well, thank you so much.
No trouble. My pleasure, everybody. This has been fun.
Thank you. And to everyone watching, if you'd like any other information on any real estate needs, pre-construction or otherwise, you know how to reach us. We're at The Mills Team on the social handles, and our email address is team@themillsteam.ca. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, have a great day.